207 defects, one house, £400,000, handed over 11 months ago to a family who had saved for years to buy it. This was not an extreme case selected for shock value, and it is a single, fully documented inspection carried out using the same NHBC technical standards and building regulations approved documents used across this investigation. Every defect was written up, photographed, and cross-checked against a specific regulatory clause before being counted. Before I even open the front door, the exterior envelope shows that the claim of completion is already breaking down. This external envelope is supposed to act as the primary barrier against the elements, yet it is compromised before we even turn the key. Standing on the driveway, I run my crack gauge over a prominent vertical fracture, running from the ground floor window head directly to the first floor sill. This is not normal drying shrinkage, and the vertical alignment and movement pattern indicate differential settlement, a clear breach of NHBC structural integrity standards. Moving along the front facade, the render itself is already failing. In 4 separate locations, the builder applied this cement finish over inadequately cured brickwork, trapping moisture and causing premature cracking across the surface. Looking up at the roofline, the roof verge detail remains unfinished, leaving a direct, unprotected pathway for rainwater to drive straight into the loft structure. Down from the eaves, the guttering is already sagging. I measure the run and find an insufficient fall, which fails the mandatory 1% slope requirement. Instead of conveying rainwater safely away, these gutters pool with standing water, already breeding dark rings of early algae growth. By the time I finish surveying the external skin, cataloguing unsealed expansion joints, poorly fitted weep vents, and cracked masonry, my clipboard already holds 31 documented defects, 31 distinct failures, and I haven't even stepped inside. I step across the threshold and immediately begin cataloguing the ground floor, where poor finishing directly overlaps with regulatory non-compliance. In the kitchen, the main units are fitted completely out of square, leaving a prominent, uneven gap against the wall that the builders simply tried to mask with thick silicone. Above the hob, the extractor fan represents a serious ventilation breach under approved document F, clause 3.3. Instead of ducting the exhaust directly to an external wall terminal, the installer ran the flexible pipe upward and left it to discharge greasy kitchen air straight into the enclosed roof space. Throughout the hallway and dining room, the skirting boards show poorly cut, open mitre joints that were left unsealed before handover. In the living room, my anemometer records a steady, cold draft leaking along the bottom edge of the window frame, showing that the thermal envelope is not sealed. The parents tell me they have to drape heavy blankets over this sill just to keep the room warm enough to sit on the sofa in the evening. Nearby, the downstairs WC has no openable window, yet the builder completely omitted the mandatory mechanical extractor fan, another clear violation of Building Regulations Part F. But plastering is the single largest category on this level. Hairline drying cracks and uneven wavy surfaces run across nearly every wall, failing the flat surface requirements of NHBC Chapter 9.1. By the time I finish inspecting these everyday living areas, I have logged 58 separate defects on the ground floor alone. The master bedroom loft hatch fails the fire safety requirements of approved document B. It lacks the mandatory fire-rated intumescent seal, creating a direct pathway for smoke and fire to breach the attic space. Across the landing in the ensuite, the shower tray is installed incorrectly. My digital level shows the tray falls away from the drain, sloping toward the threshold. Wastewater pools directly at the entrance, risking silent moisture damage to the subfloor. A serious structural defect is hidden beneath the carpet. As I walk across 2 of the 3 bedrooms, the floorboards flex heavily under my feet. This flexing is structural. The builder installed the floor joists with insufficient bearing length. Under Part A of the Building Regulations and LABC standards, these joists must have a minimum bearing of 45 mm on supporting walls. Here, they sit on less than 30 mm. Normal daily use is already pushing these undersized bearings towards structural fatigue. In the main bathroom, the extractor fan hums when switched on, but my anemometer registers zero airflow. The installer wired the fan motor but never connected it to the external ducting, leaving it to run without extracting any moisture. The first floor totals 44 defects. I climb through the hatch and step onto the ceiling joists, immediately leaving behind the finished surfaces of the house below. Up here, in an area the family has had no practical reason to enter during their 11 months of occupancy, the primary systems of the property are exposed. What is hidden beneath the plasterboard completely contradicts the home's completed appearance. My first check is the structural timber framework. Under NHBC Chapter 7.2 and BSE N 845, roof trusses must be secured with certified metal hangers to safely transfer the structural load. Instead, I find two major trusses with missing or completely misaligned hangers, leaving structural roof connections unpinned and unsupported. Beneath my feet, the thermal envelope is compromised. Under approved document L, insulation must remain continuous and uncompressed to perform to its design U value. Here, the mineral fibre insulation is flattened and pushed aside across multiple bays, exposing the bare plasterboard. This level of compression more than doubles the heat loss through the ceiling, creating immediate cold spots in the bedrooms below and a severe risk of wood rotting condensation. Next to the chimney breast, the cold water header tank presents a severe water ingress risk. The plastic overflow pipe is completely disconnected. If the ball valve fails, water will discharge directly into the attic, saturating the ceilings rather than draining safely outside. Nearby, the electrical installation breaches. Approved document P. The upstairs lighting circuit cables run directly through the compressed insulation without any protective sleeving or conduit. Enclosing active cables in thermal insulation without protection causes heat buildup, presenting a serious fire hazard. This attic alone contains 29 separate defects. It is the peak of the inspection, revealing how a house can be certified as complete while its hidden structural, thermal, and electrical networks are fundamentally compromised. The errors do not stop at the brickwork, they extend into the ground itself. In the back garden, the soil levels fall directly toward the rear wall instead of sloping away. This reverse drainage gradient violates approved document H and NHBC Chapter 4.2, channeling surface water straight into the masonry. This explains the dark, persistent damp patch the parents showed me creeping up their living room wall. Further down the boundary, the wooden fence panels are already leaning heavily after just one winter. I clear the soil around the bases to find the posts were set with inadequate depth, completely unable to resist the wind. Right next to the back door, I inspect the outside tap. It is installed without an isolation valve, violating British Standard 6700 and NHBC, Chapter 4.5. If this simple brass fitting leaks or freezes in winter, the family cannot isolate it. They must shut off the water mains to the entire house just to change a washer. This service installation completes my external survey. Adding these last 45 defects found across the gardens and services completes the room-by-room evidence. I close my clipboard. In total, this brand new £400,000 house has 207 documented defects. A signed completion certificate should mean a finished home. Instead, it has become a mere paper exercise. Until building control prioritises quality over checkboxes, buyers will continue paying for unfinished houses. This isn't just poor craftsmanship, it's systemic failure. Share your thoughts in the comments.